These are one of the best sounding headphones I've ever auditioned. Let's check them out. Dave Taylor here, and I'm endlessly listening to audio content, whether I'm editing videos, whether I'm playing games, or mostly whether I'm listening to music. I always have something going on in the background, and sometimes I want it just to be in the background, which works fine, but other times I want it to be front and center, and I really want to concentrate on that sound. And for that, you need some pretty high-end audio reproduction devices. That's what this is. This is the Beyerdynamic DT1990 Pro Mark II. So it's the second generation, and they've done a bunch of really nice refinements. The most important addition is this now features the Tesla .45 drivers, which give you beautiful, crisp, and very precise sound. They sound marvelous. Now, the connection, they are not wireless, they are wired, and it has that little mini connector, and it comes with two different cables. You can use a straight cable, which gives you more distance, or you can use a coiled cable, which I kind of prefer. And so then all you do is you just plug it in, you orient it the correct way, plug it in, and I'm good to go. And then on the other end is 3.5 millimeter, but as with this one in the box, there is a 3.5 millimeter to 1/4 inch adapter. So really easy if you have some old school equipment or you have a mixing board that just wants that 1/4 inch jack, they've got you covered. The other big thing that the Mark II gives you, it gives you much lower impedance. So the first generation of this was a 250 ohm. So it didn't really work with low power devices, but this one is 30 ohms, which means that I have been plugging this into my smartphone. I have an old Samsung smartphone, and it actually has a 3.5 millimeter jack. I really wish modern phones had that too. Separate conversation, but this one has it. So I've just launched Spotify and things like that, and man, it just sounds marvelous. Now, these are open back, open ear design, or sorry, over ear design, I should say. And open back means that they do nothing to isolate the noise around you. So these are not going to be really good if you're commuting, and they're not going to be really good if you're in a noisy environment. But if you're in a quiet space and you put these on, you're going to be blown away by the sound. It is remarkably spacious. I'll come back to the sound in a minute, but these are great for like mixing or anywhere where you have a really quiet space to work in or to just enjoy. They are 5 to 40,000 hertz frequency response, way better than my hearing, and honestly, better than your hearing most likely too. I already said 30 ohm impedance. The sound pressure level is 110 decibels. And so for the Mark II, as I said, just as a quick review, it's the new Tesla .45 drivers, lower impedance, and at the 8,000 hertz frequency, which is like human voice and singing and such, they sort of dialed that back just a tiny bit. Because part of the feedback that Beyerdynamic got on the first generation of the DT1990 Pros was that it was a little bit bright up at that frequency, so they dialed that back just a little bit. I can't hear the difference, but I'll tell you, I listened to like a lot of Howard Jones, and then I switched over to Keith Jarrett for some classic jazz trio and stuff, and all of it just sounded just wonderful. Now, let me give you some close-ups so you can see the very distinctive design. The headband actually has memory foam on it, so it's super comfortable. And then there are no buttons, no controls, no volume control, no Bluetooth pairing, no Bluetooth. So it's really just designed for one thing. There's no microphone. It just works beautifully. And the ear pads themselves are actually velour, so they're comfortable, and they are sweat friendly, so you don't feel, I didn't feel, even after like 45 minutes to an hour, I had no issues with sweat on my head or anything. They're just really comfortable. I mean, just, they've gotten so much right here. And in terms of weight, they're 376 grams or 13 ounces. So considering all that they do, they are pretty darn light. They are not as light as your earbuds. But seriously, it's like, here's your earbuds reproducing music, and here's these reproducing music. So kind of a world of difference. And so let's see, I've shown you the cables. Interestingly, the DT1770 Pro and the DT1990 Pro get the same user guide. So I recently reviewed the 1770 Pro Mark II, and I really like those. Those are a closed back design, but basically have the same specs. These are the open back design, and they are just lovely. Now, before I go further into the music reproduction, let me just show you, it comes with my least favorite feature, which is this incredibly chonky travel case. It is protective, it does protect things, and it does come with extra ear pads, a pair of them, which is nice. But notice also, they have a little zip container, and that's where you would store your cables. So you'd unhook it, put them in here, put the cables in, close it, and then honestly it could fall out of an airplane and bounce around on the ground and they'd be fine. So that's good. It's definitely tough. But having said that, it is a big chunky case. More likely than not, you're going to just have a little headphone stand or a hook or something, maybe on like the front of your mixing board or something. You might have a little hook, and you're just going to have them sitting there ready to go. Easy enough. And then it does have left and right just above the earpiece here, so it's super easy. But just remember, the cable's always going to be on the left side, which probably comes from people being right-handed and not wanting a cable in the way of their right hand. I don't know, but be that as it may, these are really, really lovely. Now, sound reproduction, as I said at the very beginning, these are some of the very best headphones I've ever heard. And no question, these are a keeper. In fact, I'm gonna probably just have these sitting on my headphone stand right next to my computer because they're just a joy to listen to. There's a huge soundstage. There's a precision about everything it's reproducing. When I was listening to Howard Jones, it was just this lush musical experience with really nice bass depending on your EQ. This is a very flat response. This is not like disco headphones with huge bass, but you can adjust that if you want in your music source. And then when I listened to Keith Jarrett, I could just feel the musicians around me, and it was just absolutely like being in a smoky nightclub and having them just a couple of feet in front of you and just saying, we have great seats to watch these brilliant musicians. It was just such a pleasure. So nice. So I have no criticisms of these at all, other than they are a little spendy, but what you get for them is really some of the best sound reproduction you can find. As long as you're aware that open back design does not isolate you at all from the environmental noise around you, then these could be an absolute winner for you. I am going to ask you to subscribe to my channel. Please click or tap on that subscribe button, hit that bell icon so you get notifications of my new videos, and if this was of value, please give me a thumbs up. Really appreciate that. Excellent. These are the Beyerdynamic DT1990 Pro Mark II headphones, and they are $599.99 at Amazon.com. And yes, $600 is a fair amount to pay for headphones, but if you can afford them and if you need really good, really enjoyable music reproduction, either because of your job or because you're just the kind of person who, if you're going to listen to music, you want it to sound wonderful, then these are a solid option. That's all I got. I think I am going to go back to my Keith Jarrett, so I'll have to catch you in my next video.